I will be shortly inviting up to the stage Dr. Tony Nader, who is a leader in transcendental meditation. I know he conducted a very well-received session earlier today, a meditation session earlier today in the morning, and I know several of you were at that session. Let me quickly read his brief bio for you. Dr. Tony Nader, MD and PhD, is a medical doctor trained at Harvard and at MIT, where he has a PhD in neuroscience. He is globally recognized in the science of consciousness and human development, and his training includes internal medicine, psychiatry, and neurology. He is the author of a best-selling book and is the successor to Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and is also the president of Maharishi International University. Dr. Tony Nader, I'd like to invite you up to the stage, please.
We are all attempting for ourselves and for people we love and for the whole world, for the community, to survive and thrive. And it's my joy on this occasion to congratulate and thank the Indian diaspora for their amazing contribution to the whole world family. And in particular, based on what I would like to share with you today, the essence of their knowledge, which I feel is essential in safeguarding humanity and maintaining balance in the family of nations, guiding the world towards a place where there is good for everyone and nobody has non-good in their life, and this initiative is a starting point. It is wonderful that we started with the great Dr. Natarajan on the level of her amazing work and her presentation, and I would like to second and support every word that she said, except I like to also take it one step further in terms of ultimate frontiers. We have seen with her and her successful description of mapping the heavens in a great book that she has written and great work that she has done, an ultimate frontier going outside. And what I'd like to discuss with you today is an ultimate frontier looking inside, looking within. And that is a question about worldview and about reality. What is reality? What is worldview that we have? And on which basis do we actually conduct our affairs, our business, our hopes, our expectations? To summarize, there are two different broad categories of worldview. One is that the universe starts with energy, and as you see in the beautiful slide that Dr. Natarajan presented, there was a gap between the Big Bang and the starting of the expansion of the universe. And this is because when you reach the small scales of time and space, about 10 to the minus 33 centimeters in terms of space, you reach what is called the Planck dimensions and the Planck area. And when you go beyond that, all the equations kind of fall apart and you start getting infinities that you don't know how to manage. And so this is going outward in the universe, and it's beautiful work which has amazing contributions and amazing implications, as we have partially heard, because it's much more than what she presented. Now there is another angle which is going deeper into the smaller than the smallest, so going to the farther out gravitational fields and all of these values on the space dimension. But science also looking into the smaller than the smallest and discovered some reality that is unexpected, which is what we call quantum level of reality. So we have the classical reality of the big objects. We have the quantum mechanics. We have quantum field theories. What it means is really basically if you take any object divided into small pieces, you end up with what the Greeks called the atom, which is that which is indivisible. But then we found recently in terms of time, that it is made of particles that are themselves fluctuations of fields, and that there is quantum field theory, which gave us something that we didn't expect, such as object being connected throughout space and time, and as if beyond the speed of light, which is what we call entanglement. Objects are not localized necessarily, they are superimposed on each other. Objects mean small particles in this case. And also there is probability, there is uncertainty, and that's what they call weirdness of quantum mechanics and quantum field. Going deeper into the quantum fields, we have what is called a unified field of natural law, which is unifying all the laws of nature, and there is a supergravity, super string theory, M2 theory, that describes what this field could be. That actually what it tells us is that is one field, and that field is actually what appears as the other fields, and these other fields actually fluctuate, appear as particles that come together, create atoms, then they become molecules, molecules come together, they become cells, and then they create the entire universe as we know it, including our nervous system. And the idea in the mind-body problem is that consciousness is something that emerges after this energy complexifies and condenses and creates a complex, organized structure, such as our nervous system, and then consciousness emerges. So this is one worldview, one aspect of seeing reality. We have Maharishi Mahesh Yogi on the screen, who comes from the Vedic tradition, and who, like the Vedic tradition, from the Vedic tradition, says that actually it's not this way that it works. That this unified field is actually a field of consciousness, a field of pure being, a mathematical field in a sense, but actually a field of consciousness, of awareness. And there are many conundrums, many questions, many challenges in this area, because how does this consciousness, which is primary, as described in Advaita Vedanta, that consciousness is primary, how does it appear as the entire universe? And that is the worldview of the Vedic tradition. So your worldview, in essence, is that consciousness is primary, and from consciousness everything emerges. The alternative worldview is that there is some energy which appears, we don't know from where, and that energy creates all that we have. So there is a physicalist perspective, and there is a consciousness perspective. In my book, One Unbounded Ocean of Consciousness, and the other book, Consciousness is All There Is, I take the structure and function of our human physiology, the structure and function of what we see in physics, what we see in the universe, all that we interact on social level, on psychological level, on philosophical level, and put all of this together to take the logic that actually consciousness is primary, and how can we actually defend that. Not only defend that, how it actually solves very important problems in existential reality, in worldview, and understanding how we are, where we are, why there is suffering, is there freedom or determinism, where things begin, where do they go. The big questions of life can be solved through this paradigm. And so to prove that consciousness is primary rather than an emergent quality, you have to do a group of interconnected multidisciplinary thoughts and questions in order to prove it, because you cannot actually measure consciousness directly in the same way as, for example, you cannot see dark matter directly, and you use things like gravitational lensing and all aspects to see how it creates an effect. So when you look at this from a perspective of the Vedic tradition, you find that there are technologies of consciousness that allow us to actually change our consciousness, improve and broaden our consciousness, and you see the effects of this on our physiology, on our behavior, and even on society. So Maharishi took that explanation, and he says that there are these different techniques: concentration, open monitoring, or mindfulness. And that takes us actually from surface thinking to deeper level of thinking, and ultimately to experience ourself, our true self, as a field of Atma, as a field of consciousness. This is transcending, which means going beyond the surface and reaching the level of samadhi, which is the level of inner being. Now, this has tremendous effects, and there are more than 500 scientific research studies on this technology of consciousness, in this case transcendental meditation, that shows that life improves in every way. Mind improves, intelligence quotient, emotional quotient improve in students, and these are published research in peer-reviewed journals. Behavior improves, health improves, and even society as a whole improves when a group of people practice this program. I'll just show 2 slides on this regard. One is how transcendental meditation decreases hospital admissions, which is the outcome of better health in every area of health that is included. And of course, the other scientific studies show tremendous behavior. Now, what is very interesting is when a small group of people practice this program together, they create a social effect that is beyond the limitation of the individual person, and therefore there is an effect on what we call collective consciousness. And a longitudinal study has shown that when we reach a critical number of people practicing this program together, you have tremendous changes in society, even in people who don't practice this program, because the effect is global and it's from a field effect rather than a localized effect. And this have shown very significant and clear results showing there is a decrease in crime, decrease in hospital admission, decrease in infant mortality, decrease even in accidents of the road. So when we're looking for solutions to the big problems, we have to realize that consciousness is primary. This worldview gives us the ability to act from the true basis of life rather than from the surface basis of life. There are many other factors and evidence that come together in terms of how this is I cannot take the time from you to explain every one of them, but I tell you the things that this paradigm of consciousness actually solves and addresses. It addresses the mind-body problem in a very systematic way, and it is testable through experiences and experiments, and it also has answers to things that we kind of realize on the surface, but that we have found to be questionable. For example, when we say everything is physical through our senses and the extension of our senses in our instruments, this is only one perception, and that perception is based on limited sensory perception. Our senses are limited in their ability to see, because if you were a cyclotron or if you were a machine that sees at a faster rate or experiences different frequencies of light, the universe will actually really look differently. Of the world, everything is real, science is real, it's important to do research and a basic research, and the research, the kind of research that Dr. Natarajan is doing is very important, so it doesn't discard that, but it points us to somewhere which is very, very fundamental in us. And there are different things that, again, contribute to supporting this paradigm, is that it solves problems about life, freedom, determinism, suffering, why we are here, and addresses fundamental questions, because after all that we do, and I'm going to throw this at you in a dramatic way, again, another radical perception, is that all what we do is about consciousness, about being conscious, and how from the platform of consciousness we want to improve our own consciousness, the flavors, the colors of our own consciousness, or through different practices improve the consciousness of others. And so it is a path towards unifying ourselves with others and creating a society that is more holistic, more full through different activities, which can be on a physical level, health programs, etc., on a compassion level, on actions level, on karma, on activity. But ultimately, it's all about consciousness. And the solution to the world's problem are within consciousness and within your tradition and the technologies that Veda and Vedic literature has brought to us. Time is going, so I cannot go deeper than that for now, but this is I wanted to discuss entropy and the origin of the universe from zero entropy potentially, and how it emerges, why it emerges, and how consciousness actually becomes and appears as matter. These are steps that are actually very clearly definable, and we can study them. They are described in the book. There are 40 aspects of Veda and Vedic literature that are patterns of consciousness themselves. And these patterns of consciousness, we find them in our own human physiology, such as, for example, the book of Patanjali Yoga Sutras, with its 4 chapters, correspond, including its sutras, to the 4 lobes of our brain. And the thalamus, for example, corresponds to the Nyaya Sutras, which each part of the Nyaya, 16 different divisions, they are actually physically present in our body, in our thalamus. And this way we can see that even the concepts of Devata are reflected in our physiology. Here we see Ganesh. We discussed in the Ramayana the physiology, and this is how we see that all aspects of Veda and Vedic literature are patterns of consciousness that are the blueprint of our own physiology. So technologies of consciousness are the hope, and of course all activities in terms outside directed, including caring for others, continuing to do basic research, continuing to understand the universe based on our clear consciousness rather than on a stress, prejudice, and cluttered consciousness is the hope for having oneness among diversity. And that is the strengths that, one of the main strengths that India offers to the world. Thank you for being there, and thank you for the knowledge that you shared with us.